A new progressive, non-corporate Democrat running for Congress in Washington's 9th district. She's got a great resume. She's young, but she's done a lot of things. I'm going to tell you, she is a community activist. She's worked as a Planned Parenthood defender. She's done lots of things. She's going to tell us all about herself. It's the new Justice Democrat, Sarah Smith. Hi, Sarah. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on today. I'm really excited.
It's great to have someone who's trying to get corporate money out of politics, right? So I'm for anybody who's doing that, no matter what side of the aisle they're on. The fact that you're a progressive is fantastic. What makes you a Justice Democrat, Sarah?
I am ready to see a new wave of Democrats in office. We have a lot of these long-term, multiple-decade Democrats that are in office right now that just don't represent the interests of the new generation that's coming in, and I think it's our turn to have a seat at the table.
What would be the big things that got you motivated? Just besides like a general statement that they don't represent you, how would you say specifically they don't?
So our concerns a lot in the younger generation are things like good paying jobs, like cost-free college tuition. We want access to healthcare for all and things like that. And these are fights that we could have been fighting and corporate Democrats could have been fighting, but they haven't been. So I think now it's time we sweep out the old blood and inject some fresh blood into the Democratic Party and into the Congress as a whole.
That's the sentiment in the streets. That's the sentiment with the grassroots. That certainly is the sentiment. But we've seen time and time again, like just in California, that not only on the national level that the Democrats have a rigged system to protect the establishment, meaning super delegates and things like that, but also on the local level, like just in California, they kind of just pulled the same thing. And right now, the California Democratic Party literally just elected a pharmaceutical lobbyist to be the chairman of the party, a guy who fought against Bernie's cheaper healthcare bill here last year. So that's how bad the Democratic Party is. What makes you think you can change it?
Because, I mean, the sentiment that I've made before is, when a window breaks, you don't just stare at the glass and wait for it to fix itself. Someone has to get in there and sweep it. And I think that it's time we swept out all the broken glass and we just made change. Regular people stepping up to the plate and actively taking part in their communities, whether that's at a city level, a state level, a local level, community level. More people coming out and stepping up is going to make sure we're getting out every last piece of broken glass from that window that's shattered, and we're replacing it with a new one.
So you are, first of all, it's a great analogy. Second of all, you are for single-payer health care, correct?
Absolutely, yes.
And you are for tuition-free college?
Yes, emphatically, yes.
Okay, you're for getting no corporate PAC money?
No corporate PAC money. We are all taking small donations. I don't want to represent corporations. I want to represent people, and I think that the first step to doing that is by only taking money from real people, not from corporations.
Okay, so those are the big things. That's what I'm. And what's your foreign policy like? I'm for ending the wars and investing that money back home. How about you?
I am absolutely in favor of doing that. I think we've been so focused on wars overseas and involving ourselves in combat everywhere else but at home. And we're fighting wars on the home front that we're not pumping any money to. Like education, we're falling behind. Healthcare, we don't have adequate healthcare for people. We've got our own battles to fight at home, and it's time we start paying attention to them.
Oh, boy, it is so refreshing to hear you say that. A lot of people I know, blue-collar people, voted for Trump because he said he was a non-interventionist. That was a big deal to people. It's a big deal to me, and it's a big deal to hear you say that you're actually for ending the foreign wars, because it's been nonstop. We've been in Afghanistan now going on 17 years, and there are going to be people going to fight in Afghanistan that weren't even born when the war started. So it seems like George Orwell is kind of coming true, right? Endless war for endless peace. We have unbelievable mass surveillance. How do you feel about the surveillance state? Chris Hedges says that when the government has every email, telephone call, and text that you make, that is not liberty. That's more of akin to the relationship between a master and a slave. What do you think about that?
I can absolutely echo that sentiment. I think when we police our own citizens to the degree that we know every aspect of their lives online and don't afford them any real modicum of privacy, that we're doing them a disservice, we're doing them an injustice, we're infringing on liberty. And it's right there in the Constitution, like life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It's right there. And by infringing on that, we're fundamentally ignoring a portion of the very paper in which we were founded.
You sound a little too smart to be a politician. I don't really know what you're trying to pull here, but maybe are you? I don't know. Listen, where did you go to school?
I went to college in the University of Arizona, and I graduated in 2014.
Okay. Oh, fantastic. 2014. Holy cow. Good for, this is exactly the kind of energy, outlook. You know, the future of the Democratic Party is all progressive, right? So they went for people who were 35 and under. I think I'm pretty right on this statistic, 7-1 who voted for Bernie Sanders in the primary. So this is the future of the Democratic Party, and the Democratic Party is just hanging on by their fingernails, using every dirty trick in the book to maintain their corporate power over the party. And it's good to see. Now, you're running against the Democrat, which is a big no-no. You're not supposed to primary another Democrat, right? That's why they wag their finger at you. The person you're running against is a guy named Adam Smith. Now, your last name is Sarah Smith, and you're running against Adam Smith. Now, tell me, why did you want to primary Adam Smith? He's already a Democrat.
So the number one question I feel like I should address now is there's no relation between me and Adam Smith.
Okay.
So I decided to primary Adam Smith because the 9th District overwhelmingly, Washington as a whole, overwhelmingly caucused for Bernie Sanders and supported Bernie Sanders. 72.1% is actually the figure that it came out to at the end of the caucus. And Adam Smith is a superdelegate. And he was prompted, actually my old state legislative district, my old legislative district asked him about this because he, despite his district caucusing overwhelmingly for Sanders, endorsed and supported Hillary Clinton and cast his superdelegate for her. And my favorite is, I'm completely paraphrasing this quote, but the quote amounted to, it's more important for me to act within the whims of my party than to listen to my constituents. And that really rubbed me the wrong way, and regardless of the fact that he's a Democrat and he doesn't have a tragic Democratic voting record, I think that says a lot about the era of politics that he came from almost 22 years ago. I think it says a lot about how the Democratic Party used to be 2 decades ago, and I think it just is the flag that got raised that it's time that the new generation of Democrats steps up to the plate and takes a swing.
So you're telling me that the district he represents overwhelmingly went for Bernie Sanders, which, by the way, we covered that. The governor got a little egg on his face in that primary, too, didn't he?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. It was actually really funny. Talk about a guy out of touch with his own constituency. Oh, my God. So you're telling me that the district that you're primarying, this Adam Smith, Democrat, his district overwhelmingly went for Bernie Sanders, but he still cast his vote for Hillary Clinton, and he thought that no one would care?
Yeah, and I guess he didn't expect someone like me, a little old me, coming from the working class to care, but I care enough to primary him.
I'm really glad you're doing that. And what has been the response so far to your candidacy from the people in the district? I'm going to guess it's positive because they're progressive.
It's been mostly positive. I've met a lot of people that didn't know that happened, and I've met a lot of people that didn't have as much information about our representative as I felt like they should. They didn't really even know who he was. But other than that, I've had some amazing conversations with people. People have been overwhelmingly supportive. I've met a lot of individuals that have been just so interested in the campaign and my message and everything, and have been excited someone's coming out to primary Adam Smith.
Well, I'm excited someone's coming out to primary Adam Smith. I really am. Now, your district is home to Boeing, Microsoft, and Amazon. So now you're going to take donations from people who work at those companies. But there's a difference between taking donations from people who work at those companies and taking money from a PAC, right? Now, tell me the difference.
So the big difference is it's individual people, it's working people. So if I were to take $10 from someone who works for McDonald's, I'm not taking money from McDonald's, I'm taking money from that one person. And it's the same thing. There's working people in Amazon's warehouse that disagree that they're treated very fairly and that want to have representation that represents them as the working class. And I feel like that taking their money is not the same as taking Amazon's money. It's not a PAC that's been bought and paid for. It's not a pool of money that's been donated by anonymous corporations and shadow organizations. It's real dollars from real working people in the real working world.
Yeah, so that's a big difference. And how big are the contributions? $2,500, right? Isn't that the limit?
Yeah, that's the individual limit. I think right now we're at an average of $17 a donation, but the individual max, I think, is 2,500.
Oh, okay, fantastic. Oh, that's great. So, tell me the work you've done to help small businesses.
So I actually work for a local business. I am an administrative coordinator for a small business in downtown Renton, and I really enjoy working there. I get to talk to my boss a lot about what it's like and what it's like for his dad that actually owns the business, and see how he's impacted by things like the cost of healthcare for employees, the size of the business, and how it's affected his ability to grow and everything like that. So it's been really good to actually get exposed to small business life, because I came from largely working for corporations, and then I had the opportunity to work for a small business, and it's a totally different world. And it reaffirms my belief that the job creators aren't all these huge corporations and small businesses. That's where the real job creation's at.
Well, we have a small business here. That's what the Jimmy Dore Show is, a very small business. We employ about 5 people. So now you were a foreclosure specialist. Now tell me what that is, and tell me how that influences how you want to legislate.
So I actually got the opportunity to work in a homeowners assistance team capacity. So I worked for Citigroup right when in 2009 through 2010. So right when a lot of people were coming out and declaring bankruptcy, and they couldn't stay in their homes and trying to find foreclosure assistance. So I worked pretty much at the height of foreclosure in America, and I effectively was trained on how to implement government programs to help stave off foreclosure for families, and depending on income, and it was all about income-based repayments and income-based mortgage payments, and how we could help get people applied into programs that would help extend out their ability to pay. So I met, over the phone really, I met a lot of people and spoke to a lot of people who were just good, hardworking individuals who wanted to just keep a roof over their head, and who wound up in a bad situation. It wasn't their fault. And I think that we let big banks gamble and lose enough with our fortunes, enough with our savings, with our college funds. We let them gamble enough. They already showed they can't be trusted to make positive decisions for people by trading all the bad mortgages they were trading, all the mortgage bundles that were going out there that should never have gone out there. A lot of these balloon payments that were out there, they never should have gone out.
So let me ask. So you were working for Citibank or Citigroup at the height of the foreclosure crisis, and your job was to try to help mitigate the pain that some of the homeowners were going through. And were you successful in doing that? Did Citigroup really have an interest in doing that? Were you just for show?
So sometimes I felt like I was, and I felt like we could have been doing more, but that didn't stop me from trying to do everything I possibly could. So I, as an individual, I believed in what I was trying to do, regardless of what banner under which I was trying to get it done. And the particular story that comes to mind is I actually was working on helping this woman. She was a single mother of 3, and she was a nurse, and she was working. She had just gotten back into the working world after her divorce from her husband. She told me her whole life story, and her mortgage payment became too much for her to bear. She lost her job. Even as a nurse, she was unemployed, and she didn't know what to do. She had 3 kids. She was the sole income provider. And to me, she was scraping by doing some side work and things like that, but she wasn't taking home a real salary. And I was hit really hard by her circumstance. And when I plugged everything into the tool we were using, it kept denying her for this repayment plan, but I knew she met the parameters. So we're not supposed to do this at the time, but I told her I would give her a call back, and so I disconnected my phone. I actually ended up calling directly to the Fannie Mae representative that coordinated with Citigroup at the time, and I had the representative actually come out to our site and put her information in and do a manual override, because he agreed with me. He didn't know what was going on, but the tool errored out, and she should have qualified and never did. So he was actually able to override it and get her to the program, and they let me call her back to be the one to tell her. And I remember it was like a 3-day process, and she said she started to cry on the phone about how she was waiting with bated breath, and how she was just so grateful that someone actually went the extra mile. And it hit me so hard that I tried to make sure for the rest of my working life I'm always going the extra mile, because I never know what person I'm going to interact with next that's going to get hit hard by something and need someone just to care a little bit more. And that's really important to me as a person. It's important to me in how I work. It's important in how I approach the world. But that's how I want to approach this kind of legislation, is how is this going to affect the nurse with 3 kids who's a single mom? How is this going to affect those working people in the end?
There is no way they're going to allow you to be in Congress.
I'm hoping so.
They are going to fight you tooth and nail, and they're going to smear you. Look what they did to Bernie Sanders, how they smeared him. He's a sexist. His followers are violent. He's a Looney Tune. He's an old guy, doesn't know how Congress works. It's just, they're going to come after you, so just be ready. It's right now they're coming after all progressives, right? I mean, not only the right wing, we used to have to just worry about the right wing, but now there's the corporate Democrats, right? There's the Hillary Clinton, W. Wasserman Schultz, Donna Brazile, Cher Blue, the David Brock smear merchants. They're going to come after you. They're already going after anybody who doesn't toe the corporate line. They're smearing journalists left and right. Glenn Greenwald, they're smearing me. So they're going to come after you. So just let it be known. Just get ready for it, because you're trying to do something good. And if you ever saw the movie Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, and that was before the consolidation of the media. Just remember that, right? So people, they're not playing around. If you try to take away their corporate gravy train, they're going to do everything short of physical violence to get you smeared. Okay, so just get ready for that, because you sound like a person who has firsthand knowledge of the abuses or the brutalities of an unregulated capitalistic system can have on people with no power. And so it's good that you saw that firsthand, and now you can go and legislate to help those people. What is your focus going to be as a legislator?
So as a legislator, I think it's really important that we focus on things like reducing college debt or eliminating college loan debt. Right now, this is a bubble that's about to burst, and a lot of the people that are in the generation that's going to experience that bubble bursting were also there when the housing crisis burst. And so we're about to go through another one, and we're just trying to pretend it's not there, and it is, and we need to address it before it gets so big and astronomical we can't deal with it anymore. Even beyond just a student debt level, education from a K through 12 level, we need to be focusing on giving kids an equitable education, a real chance at being educated, not because of the zip code they live in. All children should have an equal chance to be educated and educated well, and I think we need to be focusing on that. So education is a huge thing. I'm extremely passionate. My mom was a preschool teacher, so I'm very passionate about things like education. I'm also very, very invested in things like revitalizing our infrastructure, especially here in Washington's 9th District. We have roads that are covered in potholes. We're paying for a transit system that circumvents a lot of the communities that need access to the transit system. We're falling behind. It feels like we're trying to stop the bleeding on a lot of our roads because we weren't expecting the volume of people that are coming here to the 9th District. And then finally, investing in green energy opportunities for people, investing in civic projects and new industries to create jobs. We have a lot of tech talent here, a lot of aerospace talent here, but we also have so much other talent that we're just not accessing because we're not focusing on investing in those people. We're not focusing on investing in the industries where that talent could be utilized. And I think that's pretty much par for the course across the nation. And I think we need to shift our focus back to investing in our people and investing in our communities.
That's a winning message. I'll tell you right now, that's a winning message. People here, you want to spend money back here in the United States on our own people. That is a winning message. So I would just encourage you to keep saying it as loud as you can. I'm just an interest. I'm just personally interested. So when you were working for Citigroup, they do pay well. How was it that you were able to walk away from them?
I was in Arizona at the time. I was making about $10 an hour, and then I had an opportunity to work as a paralegal when I was trying to get my paralegal certification for a bankruptcy firm. And so then I shifted over to working in bankruptcy because I kept my resume just really sad. And then after that, I went to bodily injury negotiation for an insurance company. And then I took a break from that because I realized I wasn't happy in those fields and I needed to do something better. And I wanted to do better. I wanted to do something that had a positive and meaningful impact on people. So I took a job at a small business. I love helping out a local business owner. I love being a part of that environment. And then the opportunity arose to run for Congress. And I figured what better way to help people than to the ultimate ask, right?
Yes, yes. All right. Well, Sarah Smith, she's running in Washington's 9th district. She's a real progressive from what she said. Everything I can tell, her policies are exactly the kind of policies I'm in favor of, okay? So, again, I don't care. She's for getting corporate money out of politics, so I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. If you're for that, that's great. We need to have authentic conversations about policy. That's what I really want. I think that's what people crave right now is authentic conversations around policy in the United States and in our politics. So I just want to say thanks for coming on our show. Thanks for running and thanks for primarying a corporate Democrat, because that takes courage to do. Even if you win, you won't be that popular with the rest of the corporate Democrats. But it's about time we have to stand up, because if we don't stand up, things are getting worse. People don't understand that we have the biggest income disparity since the Gilded Age, right? And so we need someone to come by and rein in the corporations. Barack Obama did not enforce any of the antitrust legislation that he did not need approval from the Congress for, and he didn't do any of it. So it's about time, it's time for a reset in this country. Since 1980, workers haven't had a raise. The workers have not enjoyed the fruits of their labor. It used to be that if you produced more, you would get paid more, and that's no longer. So the worker's productivity is no longer tied to his pay, and that's a big thing that's wrong in America. Of course, we know the explosion of CEO pay. So it's just the plutocrats taking over. We live in an oligarchy, and the big reason is that money in politics takes away a politician's fear of his voters, right? So if we get rid of that corporate money, maybe the politicians will become more responsive, and we can have things like the rest of the world has, like healthcare and college and infrastructure and education. Wouldn't that be nice? Thank you, Sarah. Any last words you want to say to anybody?
The only thing I can think to say to people is, if you're thinking about running and you think you're too average to run, you think you're too low on the totem pole, or you have to go through certain steps or certain hoops, you don't. Get involved at a local level. Get involved. Run for something. If you've thought about running for something, run for something, because we need fresh eyes everywhere, not just in Congress.
And people, if they want to help out your campaign, where do they go?
VoteSarahSmith.com.
VoteSarahSmith.com. That's even I can remember that. Okay, Sarah Smith, thank you so much for coming on our show. Thank you for taking time out to try to help our country, and thanks for doing it when everybody can obviously see you're the future of the Democratic Party. Thanks very much, Sarah.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
The next live Jimmy Dore show is June 19th in Burbank, California, and July 15th in San Francisco at the Great Star Theater. For all links for all tickets to those shows and our full schedule, right there. There's a link to JimmyDoreComedy.com. We'll see you at those live shows.